guys, welcome to another Bookmas video. Today the video is all about things I like in books. I think about 2 years ago, I think next month will be 2 years from the first time I did this video, where I just share a bunch of things that I like in books. That way it will help you guys recommend books to me, and then tomorrow I'm going to be sharing things I don't like in books, and then maybe you can steer away from recommending those things in books. Talking should not be so hard. There's always exceptions. I might love something in a book, usually, sometimes maybe not, and I might normally hate something in a book, but then sometimes I might like it. I have some bookish examples to go along with the things I like in books. So I did this 2 years ago, like I said, and I have some more things to add and maybe some things to take out. We'll see. I thought I would start with the ones that are new. The very first thing that I like in books generally is a book that can make me feel emotions. And I mean all sorts of emotions when I say emotions. I think if I can be reading something on paper written by someone I don't know, and that can make me emotional in some way, that's amazing. So the one book I grabbed for this is one I read recently, a few months ago. It's The Lost Melody, and this one made me feel feelings kind of terror, claustrophobia, being trapped. This one is about a woman that gets stuck in insane asylum, and I felt anxious reading it in a good way. I was curious to know how it would play out, but I kind of felt like I was stuck there with her. Another one that I thought of that recently made me feel all the emotions, I didn't give the highest of ratings, is Rilla of Ingleside. It was good, but I cried way too many times in that book. So it's impressive, and I like that. Ellen Montgomery can do that, but it was sad. It kind of broke my heart. Okay, and then there's like some subgenres I've really come to realize that I love, one of which is historical mystery. So I just shared a bunch of mystery recommendations. Some of them were historical mystery recommendations, and then I have a bunch of books coming out soon that are historical mysteries that I'm hoping I'm going to love. Just a subgenre I realized really checks a bunch of boxes for me. It's like historical fiction without being too historical fiction, and mystery without generally being too gruesome. So it's like a good balance there. And another historical subgenre I like is historical fantasy. So Romanov is one of my favorites for this. This one we follow the Romanov family, but they have some magic. There are other historical fantasy books, and I want to find more. I find it's a hard subgenre to find good books for, but the ones that I have read I've really enjoyed. I feel like once again you're getting those historical elements, but it's a little bit more interesting than most of your average historical fiction. That being said, I've really come to enjoy historical fiction this year. Some of it. But there's just an added element, and then I want to look up like the historical references and the people and everything that go along with it. So that's another subgenre I've been enjoying. This again is a little bit more of a, it's not a genre, it's a category, I don't even know what it is, but that's novels in verse. I've really come to love a lot of them in the last few years. They're almost always middle grade, a few YA. There is more YA that I would like to read, but I haven't yet. But I don't know if I've ever read an adult novel in verse. I'm very curious to know if they exist, because I would like to read them. Okay, I did talk about Ellen Montgomery before, and I feel like she's the queen of this, and that's like vivid nature descriptions. I love feeling like I'm there, and no one does this better than Ellen Montgomery, I don't think. She just has a way of writing the Eastern Canadian islands in a way that I want to be there so bad, and I feel like I am, and I love it. Have been other authors have been able to do it a bit, and I appreciate that. I would like more of that. Okay, adoption and found family have been major themes that I've always enjoyed. This is often in middle grade books. For adoption, a book that I recently loved and meant to grab is, it's a duology. It's Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus and Momentous Events in the Life of a Cactus. And in the second one, our main character, she's always known that she's adopted, but she gets a DNA kit, and that spurred on conversations in our family. And for Black Friday, we ordered a DNA kit for my son, so waiting for that to arrive. But I love, because adoption is close to my heart, it's personal, I love reading about it. And then same with found family, huge theme in a lot of middle grade books. A found family story I loved this last year is A Place to Hang the Moon. Just, yes, this book is excellent. Now, on a little different note from adoption and found family, let's talk about cults. I mean, I guess sometimes people feel like their cult is their family, so there's a segue. Yes, I like cults in books. I just find it fascinating. I have not loved many Colleen Coble books, but this one follows a character who escaped from a cult when she was in her late teens, and I really enjoyed reading about that. I have read quite a few cult books in the last few years. I think about 2 years ago, the first time I made this Things I Like in Books video, I had read one cult book and enjoyed it, and then I went on a rabbit trail and have read quite a few. There's some good ones out there. I just find it fascinating how taken in people can be, and it's obviously the best if there's some kind of resolution and they find the truth. But I find them very interesting. Something else that I love is just whodunit mysteries. I like being able to solve a mystery if I can. I mean, I like knowing I could solve it even if I can't. The Aggie Morton series has been fun for that. This is a middle grade, if Agatha Christie was a kid, being her own character kind of thing. And I love this one especially, and it doesn't have to be middle grade whodunits. I love all of them, but I love that this one has a cast of characters with their portraits, because I do find myself going through and looking at the pictures and trying to figure out who I think has done it, and I'm not usually right. I actually haven't read this one yet. It just came out, I think, a month ago. Want to read it. Okay, and then another thing I love is banter and witty characters. I like humor and sarcasm and speak with it, and I like to read books with characters that have it. So Skyward, there's quite a bit. Catching Christmas, there's been multiple books that I've enjoyed with witty banter, but I want more of that. Also, spunky characters. So for that one, I grabbed The False Prince. Our main character in here, his name is Sage. He's spunky. He's not usually when I say spunky characters, I like to read about them, wouldn't like to be friends with them. He makes some poor decisions, but it makes for some fascinating reading. I also like books with puzzles. Middle grade books, once again, are often the best for this. Last time I mentioned Winter House, Book Scavenger. There's more middle grade ones, and YA one is The Inheritance Games. This one is not so much puzzles you can solve, but our main character has to solve puzzles in order to get this inheritance that she's been given, kind of thing. So this one's good. It's not quite what I'm looking for. There's also a series called Puzzle Lady. I've read one book in that series, and I'm looking for more in that vein, kind of. Okay, this one I wrote is an author who's willing to kill off his characters. Pretty much Brandon Sanderson. I don't know anyone else that's as willing as him to kill their people off. I like, well, this, I'll skip one here. I like plot twists and surprise endings. And so if I know an author is not going to kill off their character, it's just kind of, but when I know that I can expect anything to happen, it's more fun for me. I also do like, sometimes, unreliable narrators. One that I read in the last year is The Maid. I did not love this book, but this is often with an unreliable narrator. You don't know till the ending that the narrator is unreliable, so I don't want to give you too many examples because I don't want to spoil things. But with The Maid, the main character she seems to be on the spectrum or something. You can tell that she's not picking up on social verbal cues like she should be. So it's one you go into knowing that you have an unreliable narrator. I hated the ending of that book. Didn't really the book was mediocre, and then I hated the ending, so I wouldn't recommend it, but that's an example of an unreliable narrator. I also love books with bookish themes. So back to A Place to Hang the Moon, these kids are reading a lot of classics. I mean, they're not quite classics back in the day because this is set during World War II, but they also spend a lot of time at a library. Books that are set in bookstores, libraries, all those kinds of things. Love those. I do hope to do a video this year sharing all the bookish themed books that I love. I just need to read a few more really good ones first, so give me some recommendations. Okay, I think that is all for things I like in books. I mean, I like a lot of different things, but those are some of the main themes, subgenres, other things going on that I like in books. Give me some bookish suggestions. Let me know, I mean, unless it's an unreliable narrator, but let me know which one of these it fits under so that I can look these up. Thanks so much for being here, guys, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about things I don't like in books.